Let's see what's going on with mass migration viewers.
And she's the lead organiser of the Excellent Pink Ladies, the ladies who've been protesting about asylum seeker hotels in their communities. She's also the Reform UK candidate for Epping and Thaden Boys. Welcome, Ola.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Now, you've been very, very moved by the story of Rhiannon White. We all have. We're particularly moved by her brave mother, Donna, and that extraordinary statement she made in court, humiliating that monster who murdered her daughter because he danced over her body, and Donna said, "You're not dancing now, are you? Let's see you dance now." You pointed out on Twitter that the local MP for Donna and Rhiannon, a guy called Matt Weston, Labour MP for Warwick and Leamington, had not even contacted Donna White's mother. In fairness, I don't know if it was subsequent to your tweet or before, he has apparently been in touch, but he won't tell us what the conversation entailed. But what I think your tweet does highlight is the strange, I would suggest sinister silence of this government on this particular murder. We haven't heard anything from the Prime Minister, from the Labour government, from the Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips. There's always this government don't seem to care about the victims of sexual crime, particularly if it's by an asylum seeker or a migrant, as in this case. So your point that you made about the MP, the local MP, although it seems he did in the end get in touch with Donna White, the government aren't saying a word, and they owe us a statement, don't they?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna just contradict you slightly, Kevin, and I apologise, but Siobhan is Rhiannon's mum. But that's okay. There's a lot of she's got sisters and cousins, so a lot of the ladies' names get mixed up. So
Isn't it Donna Siobhan or something? I thought it was.
No, Siobhan. Yeah, Siobhan. So it doesn't matter. You know, I'm sure she'll forgive you. Frankly, this government, if this government had done its job, Rhiannon would still be alive. Okay, and that's a fact. So it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you sit on, what your views are. The fact is that this man was let in to this country 11 weeks before he murdered Rhiannon. He'd already been expelled from Germany. He'd been expelled from Italy. He came through France and came to the UK. Now, this government and subsequent governments before this government, for the last 25 years, have allowed men to come into this country to rape and sexually assault and murder young women, children, and in some cases, young boys. And the silence, the shocking silence from this government is absolutely disgraceful. So this MP that says he's been in contact, I can categorically assure you that he has not been in contact with Rhiannon's mother. And neither has the MP that looks after the constituency in which the hotel and the station is where Rhiannon was murdered, and neither has Jess Phillips.
Jess Phillips has. Now, I've got to say that this MP, he does say he has been in touch with Matt Weston. It may be subsequent to your powerful tweet and your powerful statement. I just have to say that's what his office is saying. Now, Jess Phillips, I don't think so. The government, I don't think so. Where is a statement from this government about this murder that shocks the nation? Why are they always so silent?
They're so vocal about Palestine. They're so vocal about China. They're so vocal about reform. They're so vocal about all these things that really, in the great scheme of things, do not matter compared to that of the safety of the citizens of this country. The first and most important job of any government is the security and the protection of its citizens and its borders. Fail. They have failed on every solitary one of the most important things that a government is in place to do. And the fact is, not even a tweet, not even, a mention at Prime Minister's questions, not even an email of condolence to her family. And yesterday, I was so upset that I actually cried on national TV.
I know you did.
Frustration. Today, I'm just livid, because now they're backpedaling, and apparently one of them said, "Oh, we're gonna reach out." You're 15 months too late, mate. 15 months too late. That family have been through a trial. They've been through multiple delays because that animal kept saying that he was underage and refused to have bone density checks because of his human rights. At what point does this government stand up and say, we are going to stop the unnecessary and avoidable murders of these young women? Because, Kevin, this woman, this is all over the papers now and all over the media, but there are more coming this year. There are more coming, and each and every member of the public in this country are going to be dumbfounded by what is going to come out, which has been kept silent and swept under the carpet.
Ola, do you think that in this country, I think we have a problem. I mean, of course, in my view, there's a very grave suspicion, fear, that we have been importing a sex crime epidemic.
Yes.
All these young men, thousands of young men coming from foreign cultures where their attitudes to women are very different. We don't know anything about them, and more of them are being convicted or charged with sex crimes. So that is a massive problem. But I think in this country, we have a strange attitude to sex crimes. We have a strange attitude to paedophile sex crimes.
Yes.
I've got two stories right on my desk right now. I won't go into the details, but both are very, very serious paedophile offences. The two perpetrators in court, neither of them have been sent to jail. We have a policy that paedophiles on the first offence do not go to jail.
Outrageous.
I give you Hugh Edwards, for example. So child sex abuse on the first offence is seen in this country officially as not a jail sentence, not a prison sentence. And they'll go they'll go on about, they'll go, oh, well, the cells are full, the prisons are full. It's child sex abuse. You can't let these people back out onto the street, and yet we have an official policy of doing that. What are your thoughts on that, Orla?
There is nothing more evil and sadistic than that of sexual assault to a young child, or any sexual assault, but especially to a young vulnerable child. These men, and sometimes women, but mainly men, in my opinion, should never see the light of day. And if there is no room in our prisons, deport the 50,000 illegal foreign criminals we have in our prisons. Get rid of them and make room for these animals. There was I know exactly what you're referring to, a man that has sexually assaulted a young girl and told her to be quiet, etc., etc. He's been allowed out of prison. Yet someone like Lucy Connolly can do one tweet and get 18 months. That is how mixed up this country has become. Our priorities, our moral compass is completely skewed. I don't know, I've never known anything like it.
Orla, great having you on the show. Come on again very soon.
The original Pink Lady, a reform candidate for Epping and Tatum Boys, Orla Minahane, a very good morning to you.
Morning, how are you?
Well, apparently a certain Labour lord thinks I'm the lowest of the low. I can deal with that, though, it's fine.
I'm actually gobsmacked by what I've just listened to. But with all due respect, they're two old men, but they are everything that is wrong with this country. He said several times he was a nice man, but lacked moral compass. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I said several occasions, lacking moral compass means that you're not perhaps fit for office, to which he said, why did you lose your television show? Now, I can go absolutely into that. It took 6 years. I did nothing wrong. That's a fact. So if you want to get personal, I'll get personal, not on air, because I would say the wrong thing. Because like you, I would think...
Very disrespectful.
What he didn't like was he sits on his arse on £385 a day. I'm asking him to understand what people in the communities of this country, you know this, actually think about the politicians in power. The reason I got you on, Sweet, and this to me is what we should be talking about. A story that a migrant 70 who told a girl of 12 to cover her head before sexually assaulting her on the way home from school is spared jail and got a suspended sentence. I'd love Lord Foulkes to be back on, because his government has screwed up an already desperately bad legal system. That's the sort of thing that's wrong with this country, isn't it?
Absolutely. So there are several things here. First of all, you come into this country, you sexually assault a child, you get off. These men are coming from countries where the ultimate penalty, they will receive the ultimate penalty for murder, for sexual assault, and they think, wow, we can come to the UK, we can abuse children and get away with it. So of course they're coming here. It is a joke, an absolute joke. Now, if we look, I know we haven't got a long time, but if we look at this country now, and we look at our government, and we look at what is happening to our citizens, regardless of what your economy looks like, Jeremy, regardless of what your health service looks like, regardless of your infrastructure, if you cannot stop your country being invaded and your women and children being raped and sexually assaulted and murdered, nothing else matters.
And isn't it interesting that just because of that lord, that sort of language would be labelled, 10 years ago, you'd have been labelled as a racist or far right. The fact of the matter is, whether we like it or not, there is a massive issue in this country. We had an interview earlier, I don't know if you saw it, with Samara Gill, interviewing a guy called Shahid Butt, a convicted terrorist who is standing as a councillor in Birmingham. He describes Hamas as an OK organisation, says that October the 7th was a reaction to unfairness and will probably get elected. We have to call out what's going on in this country. And whether it's the injustice of the migrant situation, I mean, get me on my favourite subject, show's nearly over. Young white British girls raped for years and still no inquiry. And we know why, because our Prime Minister is terrified of losing the Muslim vote. And I'm not going to stop saying that because it's true.
And do you know what, Jeremy? If you look at most of the things that happened, Rhiannon White, the Midlands, Lily, the Midlands, Katie Fox, Birmingham, all of these girls are all in those constituencies where Jess Phillips sits, where all of those that Labour stronghold, and they know that if they back an inquiry into any of the illegal migrant sexual assaults and murders or the rape gang inquiry, they will lose their seats, because they will lose their votes. And that is what this is about. So, you know, no one gives a flying toss about these girls and about their families as long as they keep their seats and they keep on the gravy train.
Which is exactly what I was trying to say to that guy, that the British public are fed up with the gravy chain.
Yes.
They're fed up with the excuses of, oh, you know, the moral compass isn't good. We're fed up with politicians. That's why Nigel Farage is doing OK, because I tell this story all the time. A journalist said to him in my presence, do you drink, do you smoke, have you been married a few times, do you like a bet? He went, all four. Now tell me, let me ask you, will you tell me how? You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'd love to have you on. My mother-in-law says you're fantastic, so you're very good. Reform candidate for Epping and the Thaden Boys. I hope you do well in that. Orla Minahane, thank you very much. The original Pink Lady.
I've been wanting to ask you about this shocking story from the Netherlands, where an idealistic project to house refugees and students together in a custom-built block became a nightmare of sexual assault and violence. The scheme placed 125 students alongside 125 refugees, with residents encouraged to form buddy partnerships to help migrants adjust to Dutch society. However, testimonies from former residents shared in an investigative documentary describe repeated sexual assaults, stalking and violent confrontations. And Douglas, this nightmare endured for years because everyone seemed to be so desperate for this pioneering project to work. And it immediately, for me, brought back the grooming gang scandal in the UK. It's supposedly well-intentioned people turning a blind eye to just some horrific behaviour.
Yeah, I mean, this is reminiscent of that, and sadly of many other such cases, Rita. I mean, it reminds me of cases I wrote about in The Strange Death of Europe 10 years ago now, where, for instance, I mean, there was a case I mentioned where an aid worker who worked with refugees and encouraged open borders was herself raped by some so-called refugees, migrants, and was encouraged by her colleagues not to report it and indeed to cover it up so that the narrative held. And this story from the Netherlands is very similar to that. And I think it speaks to a really big problem in our time. You have to ask the question, how many, for instance, sexual assaults do you want to cover up in order to protect the narrative that you're pushing on the people? See, I would have thought the answer is none. I think that would be the obvious one. If you stick a bunch of students beside a large number of recently arrived males from other cultures who will not share the Dutch attitudes towards sex and much more, you are going to have problems. I would have thought that the moment that the first assault happened, you scrapped the experiment. But isn't it interesting, Rita, that in all of these cases, there seems to be this belief that the foundational I wouldn't say myth, but the foundational belief of the society has to be held to, even if a massive number of lives are ruined along the way. And I don't think that should be the deal. I think we should be able to pivot. We should be able to reverse mistakes. We should be able to alter the course we're on if the course we're on isn't working. But we'll see, you know, maybe the Dutch authorities, like many of the British authorities and others in recent years, will decide that there is some permissible amount of rape that you can have in your societies in order to continue the shibboleths of our time. I think it's lamentable that, and then you mentioned history earlier. I really think that when people look back at things like this, look back at the way in which in 21st century Europe we regarded people and victims of sexual violence as being just sort of easily counted up as just collateral to the prevailing ideology. I think we'll look back on that with not just bewilderment, but serious judgment.
Alan, the mum outside the court, her mum, Donna, Rhiannon's mum, she was talking about the fact that the killer had showed no remorse. He also refused to accept that he'd done anything. He said, it wasn't me, I wasn't guilty, despite being soaked in Rhiannon's blood. He made this family give evidence and victim impact statements, and you can imagine what that must have been like, actually prolonging the agony of this family. He was an asylum seeker. He wasn't. He came over here illegally on the small boats, one of the small boats, in July, just a couple of months before he killed Rhiannon. He'd already been turned down for asylum in Germany, where he'd been living for a year. Now, this isn't all about migrants. This isn't about that. This is about being angry about the safety of women and girls. It's not shaming. But I just want to read you what Rhiannon's mum, Donna, said outside the court. She said, "My life ended with Rhiannon that day. To the person responsible, why? You will be forgotten, an evil nightmare. Rhiannon had worked at a hotel looking after migrants for 6 months. She also said the government needs to take a tougher stance on illegal migration. For the safety of women, it's not about race. It's about the fact that these men are allowed to come here We don't know who they are. We don't know why they're here. They're undocumented. We don't know what they want, what the hell they're doing here. Why are we continually allowing this to happen? Now, Rhiannon isn't the first woman to lose her life. She's certainly not we've had countless stories of women and girls being sexually assaulted by migrants who are illegally. He's not an asylum seeker. He's an illegal migrant. He came here illegally. Helen, why are we putting the lives of girls and women in this country at risk in this way?
Well, Dawn, this is one of those terrible, terrible stories that you just look at and you think it just encapsulates everything that's so wrong and terrible. And it's difficult to take any, you know, you look at it, you think, God, this is the depths of darkness, what's happened here. And I think this is why the country, I mean, obviously to the family and everyone in the country should be saying Rhiannon White's name, but here, first you've got someone who's gone out of their way to help others. Many, people in Britain are paying often to be very generous and help others, and this has just gone far too far. We have a situation where things are out of control. Actually, it has been several governments, but when governments have tried to, through being elected in and through the public wanting action to be taken, often the civil service has blocked things. We've got a situation where the democratic impulse is being prevented by bureaucrats who often got luxury ideas, who are not living close to the situation. Fortunately, in this instance, the judge did say, you've lied to us, you've been saying you're 18. Remember, Alison Pearson was doing interviews with a whistleblower and they were told to pretend that they're a certain age and write them through. They were told to write them through lest they be seen as being racist, particularly for certain countries. And we've got this whole dance that still goes on, that if it's from Afghanistan or parts of Africa, and these particular men that come, many of them with very particular attitudes towards women and girls, that we have to not say things in case that it might be deemed as it being racist, or you can't talk about this problem with illegal migration in case you're presented as that. And the public is fed up of it and is sick of it. And we've seen far more cases of crime and sexual attacks and rapes and murder than we should do. We've seen one is too many, but proportionally it's skyrocketed. And I just think now we've got a situation that both with the Home Office and border control, this needs to get grips with. It's why this government is under so much pressure. It's also the case that their response to this over the last period, particularly with Southport and other things, has been that the public are just racist and they're mad and they're dangerous and out of control, rather than what we see here, decent people who work hard and want to contribute and then have this terrible thing happen to them. So the British public has had enough.
And I read Rhiannon's mum, Donna, her quote out. She is saying this. She is concerned that another family do not go through what her family have been through.
I completely understand that, and I wouldn't want anybody to go through this. But I think it would be a clumsy reaction to this to assume that asylum seekers are somehow a blanket threat, where if you look at the data, and we must be led by the data, we must be led by the evidence, when you look at where attacks happen and who they happen by, it is spread across the country. So if you are serious about tackling violence against women and girls, which I know you are, I know I am, and I'm sure you are as well from what you've said today, then we must be led by those numbers and we must take a wholesale approach rather than zeroing in on one particular group.
Alan?
I mean, honestly, Sebastian, okay. We have a situation, and you're calling them asylum seekers. Here's someone who's lied that the judge has said he's going to convict him on the basis that he knows he's lied, because in Germany he's gone through with a different. Let me just finish my point before you interrupt me.
Why is he not asylum seeker?
Let me just hold on. I'm making my point. And he's already lied, and the judge says you've lied about your age, and then we call him this asylum seeker, but yet we know that the people that are coming in on a boat that are illegal migrants. He's come from Germany and he's come somewhere else. Now, you then went on to say that it would be very dangerous to then speculate that this is a general problem from asylum seekers. What we've got is a situation where tens of thousands of men who are around our country, we don't know where they are. We also have a huge issue with the fact that many of them are radicalised and are on the MI6 watches list, at least 45,000 people in Britain. We don't know where they are. We see situations like in Bournemouth and Nuneaton and around the country where there are hotels where there's lots of crimes proportionally far higher from the people that are coming here. But frankly, even one incident that happens in one area, if you're in a playground or if you're a woman or if you're a man and you get into a situation, it's too much. And yet we've got tens of thousands of these people.
I'm going to stop.
We've got tens of thousands of people here.
Okay, Alan and Sebastian.
Can I just clarify, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, are you suggesting that the rate of crimes or the rate of sex attacks or anything else is higher proportionately among asylum seekers than among the population as a whole?
I'm saying absolutely. If you look at the numbers of illegal migrants that are coming into the country, one of the problems with the stats, as you know, one of the problems, as you know, you just asked me a question.
That data isn't captured.
Well, I just was about to say, one of the problems with the data is that the Home Office has consistently refused to respond to it. But there have been FOIs, and various people like Rupert Lowe and others have put in submissions to get answers on these things.
Can you give us
but we do know. I'll give you a stat. Here's a really good stat. This is a terrible stat. In Bournemouth, there are 3 hotels, and there are 153 crime incidents that have happened as a consequence of those 3 hotels with those migrants that are in those hotels.
I'm going to stop you again, because I asked you a specific question.
I'm giving you some stats.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the country as a whole. I'm not interested in Bournemouth specifically.
You're not?
No.
It's a very good example of some stats.
What I want to know is, are people who come here on small boats or come here to claim asylum disproportionately committing crime compared to the rest of the country?
Right, OK, I'll let you ask that question. I'll let you respond to that question. We have to take a quick break.
Right, let's get this madhouse going. But this is very serious, because I wanted to get you in about several issues today. But for me, still today, the big story is the anguished cry of Rhiannon White's poor mother, Donna, in her witness statement at court last week, when she addressed the man who stabbed her daughter, Rhiannon, to death 23 times with a screwdriver. His name is Deng Majek. She went on to ask Keir Starmer and his government, are you listening? Will you take this murder? Will you understand that this murder is the result of your policies on the migrant crisis? It's not the only murder, it's not the only rape, it's not the only sexual assault, violent assault. More and more crimes are being committed by these people that we've imported, these young men that we've imported from foreign countries, foreign cultures, a long way away, with very different attitudes towards law, order and women. Donna White's cry from the heart was extremely moving and extremely powerful. You have spoken to Donna White today or over the weekend, Samara. I mean, she is of course grieving the loss of her daughter, but she is also grieving what this country has become. We allowed this to happen. We imported this guy, along with thousands and thousands and thousands of young men of sexually active age from foreign countries that we don't know anything about. We just let them in, put them in a hotel, give them free food, free lawyers, free doctors, free dentists, 50 quid a week, 4-star hotels. We don't ask any questions, and some of them go out and do this. It's an absolute crisis, isn't it?
You're right. She was a little lady and little but powerful in how she spoke to me, and she has been completely betrayed by consecutive governments and, to be honest, what this country has become. It was very, very harrowing to talk to her. It's something that I was almost shaking after the interview, and usually I don't get like that, but she has she's had her life destroyed. And what's even worse is that the 5-year-old who Rhiannon leaves behind has also had his life destroyed, and he sleeps with a toy with his mum's face on it, and he cries every night for her. And that is because of something that could have been prevented if Starmer had actually stopped the boats, like he keeps lying to us and saying that he will. I mean, it's ironic, but this killer, this murderer, came in on a boat the same day that Axel Ruda-Cabana committed those crimes against those girls in the dance hall. So if that's not a country in disrepute, I don't know what is. Genuinely, the government hasn't reached out to her. I think we've got a clip of her talking about how she has had total silence from people like Shabana Mahmood.
Well, let's have a listen. This is Donna White, Rhiannon White's grieving mother.
Shabana Mahmood has stayed completely silent about this. She's the current Home Secretary. She's still allowing boatloads of unchecked men come into this country and invade it. She hasn't uttered Rhiannon's name.
It's shameful. She should be ashamed of herself. Would they feel the same if it was their families? Who knows?
I'm really haunted by this story. There's a picture of Rhiannon with a little 5-year-old boy like that. It's a picture of pure joy, a mum with a little son. Apparently, when the little boy was told, I'm afraid you won't be seeing your mum again, he let out this howl of kind of primeval distress. I mean, this is a 5-year-old kid. This is the result of our migrant crisis policies, isn't it?
She said that he is broken. I mean, I had some comfort in the fact that, you know, Siobhan, or Donna as she likes to be called, is a great-grandmother, and, you know, he's living with her sister, but he's totally broken. He has aspirations to now become a brain surgeon, because the way that this imbecile, I won't even name him, attacked his mother was so bad that I'm pretty sure he shattered, with this screwdriver that he attacked her with, the murderer, he shattered her brainstem. That's how bad the attack was. And still, the court, it's over now, you know, the case is closed. We still have actually no reason as to why he did that. We have no explanation other than, as you've been saying, he was a psychopath. We have become the literal waste bin for asylum seekers in the West. This guy had his application denied in Germany. Italy also didn't take him. So he decides to then come to the United Kingdom where it's comfy and cozy, and we won't even ask a single question or take biometrics. He said that he was 27 years old. He wasn't, he said he was 19 years old. He was 27 years old.
Yeah, I mean, loads of them are just lying, and I believe this awful murder happened 3 weeks after he arrived in this country on a small boat. He's then put in this asylum seeker hotel in Walsall in the Midlands. Rhiannon worked there. Behind the reception. She was friendly with many of the migrants. They all loved her. She was just walking home after a shift, day's work, going to the station to go back to her family to see her little boy. And that guy leapt on her and stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver. She didn't die for 3 days. And he was then seen, he was swigging booze, having the time of his life. He was then seen dancing in ecstasy, having done this. This is the kind of person that we just let into the country, no questions asked. And Donna, in the most powerful statement, when she did her witness statements, which sometimes don't have much effect, to be honest with you, but they make the victims or the relatives of the victims feel better. Donna fixed this man, I'll tell you what his name was for what it's worth, Deng Magic, fixed him in the eyes and said, "Let me see you dancing now." He's just got 29 years. He didn't dance, did he?
He didn't dance, but unfortunately now we're going to have to bear the burden of £1.8 million, which is the approximate cost of how much it's going to take to keep him locked up behind bars. I mean, this guy changed his story so many times all throughout the trial. He didn't admit to anything or didn't say that he had anything to do with it. He's a liar. He actually first said he was fleeing from the Sudan and wanting asylum because he was a child soldier. That story then changed to, I was fleeing my village because I was trying to marry my sister and my parents wouldn't allow me to.
Oh,
and I would like to.
What awful parents.
Just awful parents. And
what kind of a mother and father won't let their son marry their daughter? Come on.
This is the level that we are getting across the channel. I think we should just have a look at what Siobhan Donna said about Keir Starmer and his place in this.
Donna made it clear that she holds Keir Starmer and his government responsible for the appalling murder of her daughter. Listen to this.
They're not stopping the boats, though, Samara. What they're doing is they're enticing them in. Free NHS, benefit money, free hotels. It's women and children. Where are the women and children?
Does Keir Starmer have blood on his hands?
Yes, he does. Hope he lives with that for the rest of his life. It's not just my child he's taken away. These poor innocent children that are getting raped daily, may I add. These poor women like Rhiannon that are getting murdered. He and all the other people that agree with this, they have those people's blood on their hands.
29 years, is that enough?
Nothing will ever be enough.
Yeah, I see a crime like this, stabbing an innocent woman 23 times with a screwdriver, and then dancing with glee over her dead body or her dying body. If that doesn't get a whole life sentence, throw away the key, I don't know what does. What crime would be worse than that? But apparently it didn't warrant a full life sentence, so he's going to do minimum of 29 years. Frankly, if he doesn't make it, who cares? Shocking.
Well, we also raised the death penalty. I think we've got a clip of that and what Siobhan thinks about the death penalty in this situation.
Yeah, good point. Again, this is Donna.
How do we continue to navigate life without her? Her son, my grandchildren, my children. How do we navigate life without her? And he is taxpayers' money put into a prison.
It's going to cost around £1.8 million. Yeah. Would you call for the death penalty for him if we did have something like that?
Yes, I would. It's not something that I ever believed in, but I know it's evident. It's evident what he done.
If it's going to cost £1.8 million, it's not going to cost me at the age of 60 £1.8 million to see my life out. It's suicidal empathy on the Western world. The Western world is a trash can for the third world.
So 2 points there I want you to call in about. First of all, is Donna right to say that Keir Starmer and his government have the blood of her daughter on their hands? And when she calls for the death penalty, having suffered this terrible loss, the loss of her daughter, does she have a point? Do you think maybe for that kind of crime we should bring back the death penalty? We seem to be getting more and more crimes that defy belief, like Axel Rudy Cabana in the Southport dance hall. And I've always been a bit diffident about the death penalty, but when I hear about what Rudy Cabana did in Southport, when I hear about what this monster did to poor Rhiannon, it's hard not to say, just get rid of these These scourges, you know, just get rid of them. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. While you're here, Samara, other stories.
Remain seated until I ask you to stand. Deng Chol Majek, you have been found guilty of the murder of Rhiannon White at Bescot Stadium railway station. At about 11:20 p.m. on the 20th of October 2024, Rhiannon was on the station platform waiting for her train home after her late shift as an employee at the nearby Park Inn Hotel. You were a resident at the hotel. Having armed yourself with a Phillips head screwdriver, you had followed Rhiannon from the hotel to the station and down onto the platform where she stood alone. You then immediately and repeatedly attacked her with the screwdriver, inflicting 23 puncture wounds, 19 of them to the head. With the greatest courage, Rhiannon had tried to defend herself against your frenzied and sustained brutality. She collapsed to the ground where you left her. At the time of your attack, Rhiannon had been on her mobile talking to a friend. You took her phone, turned it off, and calmly walked back in the direction from which you had come. As you crossed the footbridge over the Tame, you threw her mobile into the river. You did not immediately return to the hotel, but first took a long walk around Walsall, in the course of which you bought some beer. Following your return, the CCTV shows you dancing and laughing in the hotel car park against the backcloth of blue flashing lights from the railway station. Rhiannon was found by the crew of her intended train, which arrived shortly after the assault. Emergency services came quickly to the scene. Despite every best effort, Rhiannon died in hospital 3 days later. The evidence against you, in particular from CCTV and DNA, was overwhelming. You continue to deny that you were the assailant. The court is thus left with no explanation of what possessed you to murder a member of the hotel staff who, together with her colleagues, had been serving and helping you and your fellow residents. The court has heard the statements of Rhiannon's mother and one of her sisters. They speak in deeply moving terms of Rhiannon's wonderful character and qualities, and of the devastation which you have wrought to her close and loving family across the generations, and including her young son. The court is only too conscious that no sentence can ever begin to meet their terrible loss. For the purpose of establishing the appropriate sentencing regime and generally, it has been necessary to order an age assessment report. When in July 2024 you entered this country, you claimed you were born in Sudan in or about January 2006 and were thus 18. However, in the course of your long journey from Sudan, you had passed through Italy, Germany and France, and your identification papers from Germany recorded your date of birth as the 1st of January 1998. You said that the year was a mistake. Having read the comprehensive report by the two experienced assessors and its supporting materials, I am sure you were over 21 at the dates of your conviction and the offence. I accept their conclusion that your present age is between 25 and 28. I consider that the greatest likelihood is that you were born in 1998, as the German documents attest. I therefore sentence you on the basis that you were aged 26 at the date of Rhiannon's murder. For the offence of murder, the law imposes a sentence of imprisonment for life. The law then requires me to fix the minimum term which you must serve before you are eligible to be considered for release by the parole board. It is most important that you and everyone concerned with this case should understand what that means. The minimum term is not a fixed term after which you will automatically be released, but is the minimum time that you will spend in custody before your case can be considered by the parole board. It will be for the parole board to say, at that time, whether or not you will be released. If the board considers that it remains necessary for the protection of the public, you will remain in custody. If and when you are released, you will still be subject to license, and this will remain the case for the rest of your life. If for any reason your license were revoked, you would be recalled to prison to continue to serve your life sentence in custody. For the purpose of deciding the minimum term, I must first identify the appropriate starting point by reference to Schedule 21 of the Sentencing Code. There is and can be no dispute about this. You brought a weapon, the screwdriver, to the scene and used it in the murder. I am sure that you brought it to the scene with the intent to murder Rhiannon. It follows that the starting point is a minimum term of 25 years. Next, I must identify and take account of any statutory or other aggravating and mitigating factors which may require that starting point to be adjusted. I am satisfied that the following aggravating factors apply. First, I am sure that the offence involved a significant degree of premeditation. The CCTV shows that for substantial parts of the evening of 20th of October, you had been in the reception area of the hotel and staring fixedly in the direction of the group of female employees, including Rhiannon, who were working there. Then, at the time of the end of Rhiannon's shift, you went outside by the main entrance. After Rhiannon had come out, you then followed her all the way to the station platform, armed with your weapon. Secondly, the particularly vicious brutality of this sustained assault with your chosen weapon. Thirdly, its commission against a woman, alone, late at night, in a public place. Fourthly, your disposal of evidence with the intent of escaping detection. The CCTV evidence shows you throwing Rhiannon's mobile into the river. It was later retrieved by a police diver. You evidently disposed of the screwdriver. I turn to consideration of any statutory or other mitigating factors. For this purpose, you have provided minimal assistance to the court. To the author of the pre-sentence report, you continued to deny that you were Rhiannon's assailant, showed no empathy for the victim, and provided a limited account of your life in Sudan before your departure. To the consultant psychiatrist who examined you for a report in March 2025, before your trial, you were unwilling to discuss your past medical history and very guarded in what you said. For the age assessment process, you refused consent for disclosure of your medical records. During the 2 age assessment interviews, you then refused to answer many questions, including those about events in Sudan. Your refusals were typically preceded by the words, "Thank you for the question." The authors of the report described your provision of information as one of strategic selectivity. They observed that throughout the 4 hours of the interviews, your posture and demeanor were confident, controlled, composed, and relaxed. In the results, you have provided the court with no explanation for your conduct, nor any reliable basis to consider any suggested mitigating factors. I see no basis for the statutory mitigating factor which arises where the intent was to cause serious bodily harm rather than to kill. Having regard to every aspect of your conduct, before, during, and after the assault on Rhiannon, I am sure that your intent was to kill. In my judgment, your age and level of maturity provide no mitigation. The evidence shows a level of maturity which is consistent with your true age, and indeed a chilling composure in every aspect of your behaviour. Your counsel then points to the agreed fact that you have no previous convictions in this or any country, to your accounts of your life in Sudan and consequent departure from that country, to an aspect of your physical health which, as I accept, is established, to suggested mental ill health, to limits on your command of English, and to the prospect that your time in prison may be more onerous than for others. In my judgment, your accounts at the trial and otherwise about your personal circumstances in Sudan are unreliable. You have refused consent in respect of medical records and failed to engage with the consultant psychiatrist. I have no doubt that your English is better than you suggest. In any event, if all these matters were established by reliable evidence, they provide no mitigation whatsoever for what you have done. In your case, there are no mitigating factors. For count 2, the associated and overlapping offence of possession of an offensive weapon, no separate penalty will be imposed. The surcharge provisions apply, and the order will be drawn accordingly. Deng Chol Majek. On the count of murder, and as the law requires, the sentence is imprisonment for life. I turn to the minimum sentence which you must serve in custody before you may apply to the parole board to be considered for release. Having regard to all the matters to which I have referred, I set that minimum term at 29 years. From this must be deducted the 466 days you have spent on remand in custody. This means that the minimum term you will serve before you can be considered for release is 27 years and 264 days. Yes, please take him.
On the 20th of October 2024, Rhiannon White was brutally and senselessly murdered at Bescot Station as she made her way home from work. Her killer may have been sentenced to life in prison today, but no sentence or outcome will ever really be justice for Rhiannon's family and friends, who continue to live with this insurmountable, horrific loss. Their own life sentence began in October 2024, the moment Rhiannon was brutally taken from them. It was a frenzied, sadistic and unprovoked attack, which her killer carried out on an innocent young woman he barely even knew. He laughed, danced, joked around in the moments after what happened, and to this day he's never shown any remorse or given any explanation for why he decided to murder Rhiannon that night. His callous indifference has played out every day in court for Rhiannon's poor family to see in person. I would like to pay tribute to them once again for the extraordinary strength and dignity they continue to show in the face of one of the most truly traumatic things a family could ever have to go through. I have no doubt that Rhiannon will be immensely proud of them. As we close this chapter, it is important to remember Rhiannon for the person she was. Her kindness, her energy, and the joy she brought to those around her, rather than the person responsible for her death. Today's sentence ensures he will face the consequences of his actions, but it is Rhiannon's life and legacy that should live on. Thank you.
This is the depraved dance of a murderer high on his crime. Deng Chol Majek had attacked a staff member from the asylum hotel where he was being housed. Outside, he celebrated, while in the background, police and paramedics rushed to help. Seemingly excited after stabbing 27-year-old Rhiannon White more than 23 times with a screwdriver. She died in hospital 3 days later, never making it home to her son. Today, her sister said she'll never forget telling him.
The screams of pain from this beautiful little boy will haunt me for the rest of my life. Rhiannon's life was not the only one taken that day. Majek stole a crucial piece from all of us. Throughout this trial, we have been given no reason as to why he chose Rhiannon, no accountability for his actions, and no remorse.
On the 20th of October last year, Majek, circled in green, kept staring at Rhiannon, seen here with blue hair. One colleague said it felt like he was planning something.
If you look at the black guy over there, sitting near the column, I paused it for a reason. That's scary. That's really scary. That's the Reaper. The Grim Reaper. Hood and all.
He was. After she finished her shift at 11 p.m, Rhiannon left the Park Inn Hotel on foot, crossing a car park and walking under the motorway to reach Bescot Stadium Station. CCTV footage shows Rhiannon in the car park on her phone. She was catching up with one of her best friends. 90 seconds later, Majek was caught on the same camera, tracking her.
Rhiannon was still on that call as she made her way along this path and up these stairs to the deserted train station platform. Her friend heard her screams as Majek launched his frenzied attack, stabbing her repeatedly in the head with a screwdriver.
She was found slumped on the platform when the train she was meant to catch pulled in. She never regained consciousness. Majek was arrested before dawn. His only defence has been denial, even though clothes found in his room were covered in Rhiannon's blood.
I mean, the level of brutality there is some of the worst I've seen in my 18 years of service in the police. Her poor family had to hear all of that evidence in court. And I think it's testament to the character of the defendant that he chose to put them through that.
Her family say Rhiannon would have wanted them to stay strong for each other. They want Majek to spend his life behind bars.
Life for a life. None of this deportation, I'm not against asylum seekers, whatever, but he's taken my daughter away. He doesn't deserve to be sent back to his own country. Serve his time here, every day of his life.
And this family must spend the rest of their lives without one of their own.
There were gasps and tears of relief from Rhiannon's family as Majek was convicted. Originally from Sudan, it's believed he came to the UK on a small boat last summer. While the Home Office won't comment on individual cases, they did say that their aim is to deport any foreign national who commits a crime here. Majek claims he's 19, but records in Germany make him 27. Sentencing has been delayed until December so that his age can be assessed.
He got 29 years, as we saw before. We'll close with this, viewers. We'll close with this. It's good to see the authorities actually taking some action against these people for change. Bit of a shock.
Just leave him there for now. That's all this. Sorry? Don't touch nothing.
Now, just let me say, this is very similar to what ICE is trying to do in the USA if they're not being interfered with by the sanctuary city governments and things, which is illegal in itself. But here we're seeing justice done.
What is it?
This one here. Choose the pink phone. Yeah, it's all good, mate. Yes, mate, just stand by, please.
Okay, problem.
Hello?
I'll just speed it up a bit, really.
So, who's this contest? What's your name?
I've got some. Cool. What's it? Yeah?
Where's the phone?
It should be on linked items.
What info?
It's the tall one. Stand up.
Yeah.
Stand up.
What should I do for me?
I'm going to say to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Try that.
These are the ones in Melbourne and that are committing the machete crimes, and they're running wild. They don't care. There's more going on in Australia than they're letting you know. England's just about shot. Spain's just let in a naturalised 500,000. They'll spread their way throughout Europe, across into the UK. It's an mass international migration agenda to get votes. And when I say the West is the waste bin for the third world, you better believe it. You better live the best life you can for yourself now and be very aware of what's happening around you. See you on the next one.